Oh!
you're the naughty one. There's where the paint's trash from the exhaust heat. But our problem right now is what is causing that. It's all over the car. It's horrifying, and it's like a tar. It's almost like a grease. She's gonna be a little warm for me for a sec. I'm guessing it's a transmission type of issue. Oh, there we go. There's something weird. Both of the rear axles have an exposed area where you can see the flashlight's just blowing it out. But you can see there's grease coming from those axles right there. It's more apparent on this side where it's basically spun off of the joint right there and put it onto the transmission. So this is a really good problem to have, that it's not in the car. It's whatever's going on with these rear axles. Here's the great news. As you can tell, you know, like I said, it's this joint that's having issues. I took an Allen wrench, which is always difficult to find the right one, but we were able to find the right one the first time, and look at that. The bolts that connect this joint together, loose, hand loose. So what I'm gonna do is, yeah, I wanna tighten them up and call it a day, but let's be real, this is an exotic. I'm gonna go get more grease, not any special Italian fancy grease, but just grease to pack that back in and bolt it back up. Here's what I think we're gonna do. We're gonna use this multi-purpose grease. It's red instead of the black stuff. Regardless, that should work. We're not talking about 100,000 miles on this, and this is basically all similar, all the same stuff. One of you guys in the comments are definitely going to roast me saying it's wrong. I agree. The next step I'm gonna do is take all 6 of these off and see what horrific things are hidden still inside of this joint, and then hopefully clean it out a little bit and replace it, pack it with some of my new beautiful red grease. One of the best things about having glasses, even though I have the lightest prescription in the world, is the fact that they protect you from something. This is so loose, I don't even need any sort of torque on these. It's gonna get worse before it gets way better. Yeah, they're all just hand tight. I'm curious what'll happen once it's opened. I hope I can pull it back. The tire is still on, so it's not like I can get really, Jesus, these are all so loose. Now this is how much proof that I love this car no matter what. I am in nice dress clothes, like street, but still dress clothes, and I'm working on grease. Yeah, so let's see if I can pop this off a little bit. This is gonna get so messy. I really don't know what to expect. This is kind of a shared adventure. It should be just like any other car. That's the nice part about exotics, is they end up still acting like a normal car at the end of the day. So I'm just gonna try and gently separate these two. If they want to be separated, well, it's coming out of here and here, mostly here, because that's where this is where all the goo is in line with, so it was coming out of the heads. Part of me is wondering if I pull this boot off and then just shove it in that way. Once it's happy, these two will separate somehow. I don't think I'm out of space, but something that could be happening is that the other end of the axle is just held in by the tire, so it's not gonna let me go any further to the left. Yeah, the problem is if I take this, there's the metal band, if I take this piece off, I am not capable of putting that back on. It's like bending it with a special tool. Please don't show me that you're an 18-year-old car right now. Okay, this is promising. Doesn't really exactly help the situation too much. Still can't get past it. So what we're doing right now is I'm gonna give it a little bit of forced love, just to see if it'll separate a little bit. It's still really warm, so I'm not, you know, the way metals expand and everything, I'm not too worried. I just would like it to just gently realize that they need to come apart. They're bad for each other. Like Romeo and Juliet. Suicide pact. You guys need to come apart before things get worse. I'm going to tighten those back up and then get to this band, metal band here, try and loosen that one up, because then I'll be able to pop this piece off of this joint and then see directly into there. This one's too small and it's not cooperating. You think we can roll the car forward? Probably like 5 inches, 3 inches maybe. I'm gonna try and push an exotic with hands like this. Let's see. Okay, that should be good. If you want to pull the parking wheel. But that piece right there, that ring, is like stamped in. It's like locked in. Once I go to pop that like rivet basically melts away. Oh, there we go. There you go. Did you see that? She's responding. For some reason, rolling the car actually got us further. Okay, this is good though. We're about to see from the inside what's going on. This is definitely the CV joint. This is the transmission output shaft. So, well, whatever the correct name is, but it's the output for this wheel. This is the actual joint, and we're gonna pop open and see what's going on in here, hopefully from the inside, and maybe pack it back with grease. I'm super sweaty. Oh, I just cut my rib cage with that. Cameraman thinks it's funny. Oh, that was a perfect kick. Oh. Sadly, my knowledge of axles is so limited that I thought we'd be able to access it from this side. I was very wrong. Extremely so. How come when you look at this trail of sludge, it all originates around the edge of here? If you line this up with where the device is supposed to originally be. So I'm wondering why it's leaking from the bolt holes. Our plan of attack has changed a little bit. We got a grease gun because we both agree that this thing's gonna need some grease in the exact spot that we need to put it, but here's our new plan of attack. Some cheesy looking stainless steel zip ties basically, but I think they're gonna be plenty fine. We're gonna take off the 3-inch diameter CV joint clamp, put grease in there, and then use one of these. These are like 14 inches long. And if you do math, 3 inches times 3.14 gives you about 9.5 inches of length for a CV joint clamp. This one's 14, I think we should be good. I think. We were both a little concerned that these were kind of cheap and wouldn't work until I just put one together, and you can't even see, oh there you go, you can see just the slightest bit of contact between the loop, and it couldn't pull it apart. Yeah, look at it. Yeah, so it laid the fears of not being able to hold those sort of strength and tension that we were worried about. Okay, there we go. What a pain. Yeah, hopefully the new ones work. Hopefully the new ones work. So here's the next step. Goodbye. Now that that is off, it's time to pull the boot back. I put the rest of the joint back on just so I could get back to this point. And there we go. This is where we're gonna put grease back into it, and then we're gonna clamp this whole thing back in really tight so it stops leaking out of this little sleeve here. We are in business. Well, without reading the instructions, it looks like you basically put a can of Red Bull inside of your grease gun, and then apparently it's like cranberry Red Bull. Never mind, not my style. This feels like the most mechanic thing I've ever done in my life. Like I feel like a legitimate mechanic. Like, oh, boys, time to grease her up. Trying to use the grease gun. This makes me feel like a real mechanic. Like I think you get your ASC certification by using this. Like I'm now a master ASC certified guy. I feel like it should be like a gun, like bolt release.
Oh!
You're the naughty one. 3-pump chump right there. That could have been really bad. That is hilarious. I really don't know how much I'm supposed to use, and I don't want to overfill it. So those mechanics that are watching this video, let me know in the comments how much I'm supposed to use, even though I've already completed it. I'm still curious if there's like a rule of thumb, like, hey, use a dime size amount, or hey, you overfilled it already. Just let me know in the comments what it takes to fill a repack a joint with grease, and when do you know you've put too much in? Those little like brass looking things, those are supposed to be like lock washers. They're supposed to prevent it from loosening. So every single one of them being hand tight gives me a good idea that that wasn't slowly occurring. There we go. There's the second side. Oh, it's gonna be dirty. It's like probably just all secretly like falling back out. So gross. So wrong. Whatever I'm doing feels like borderline illegal to do to your car. We need like a marriage permit or something. Put the boot back on. There we go. Let's see how it worked. I think we got it. Probably the simplest problem I've ever had on the Lamborghini that looked like a catastrophic failure.